أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وأفضل الصلاة وأتم التسليم على المبعوث رحمة للعالمين سيدنا ونبينا وشفيع ذنوبنا وطبيب نفوسنا أبي القاسم محمد وعلى آل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله وعلى الأرواح التي حلت بفنائك. عليك مني سلام الله أبدا ما بقيت وبقي الليل والنهار، ولا جعله الله آخر العهد مني لزيارتكم. السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين. My dear brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum jami'an wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. اللهم اجعل ما نقوله ونفعله خالصا لوجهك الكريم. Today, inshallah, we're going to speak about the last and final lesson from Ashura, and that is the lesson on hardship and how we can endure hardships. Because in our day-to-day lives, we all face difficulties at some point. When we face a hardship, we lose our stream of thoughts. We cannot think clearly anymore. We get lost. Easy tasks become hard, difficult. If someone was to seek advice from you, you wouldn't be able to give them advice. Your prayer is not a good prayer anymore. You can't focus on your prayer. You can't lead a conversation. Your attention span becomes shorter than it already is. Hala, most people have 20 seconds, 30 seconds of attention span. Becomes 5 seconds probably. Why? Because you're facing a hardship. Because you're facing a difficulty. That day probably is gone. Correct? طيب. This is us on a daily basis. And who are we? We're just a regular human being. We don't have big responsibilities usually in comparison to other personalities. Right? It's just you. You worry about yourself. What do I want to eat? What do I want to drink? Where do I want to go? What do I want to do? Right? Hala, later on when you get married, inshallah, all of you get married, then you worry about somebody else. It's not only you. It's what do I want to eat and what does my spouse want to eat. So what do we want to eat? What do we want to do? Where do we want to go? So your ego becomes divided by half. When you have a child, it's divided by 3. Another child divided by 4. Your ego becomes smaller. طيب, how about our big scholars and maraja who are responsible for all the Muslimin worldwide? When they face a hardship, when they face a difficulty, they cannot just say, khalas, you know what, today I'm going to take off. They can't take off. They work 24 hours. They don't only worry about themselves and their household and their family members or their country. They worry about the Muslimin worldwide. Wallah, if a marja decides one day, you know what, I'm going to take off for a week and khalas, I'm just going to do something else. It doesn't work like this. There's papers coming in every day. He has to read, he has to do. This is how it is. These are our maraja. How about the imam? The imam is responsible for all of humanity. Not only the human beings, for the world. He's worried about the animals, about the plants, about the environment, about everything. That's the imam. How much is his ego? طيب. So the marja, the scholar, those who have responsibilities, they cannot just step back and say, you know what, khalas, I'm facing a difficulty, let me just take a break, let me quit. They cannot quit. So we need to learn a lesson when it comes to enduring hardship and difficulties. And who's the best personality? Because some people come and say, okay, I understand, the ma'soom is the ma'soom. The infallible is infallible. But who's the best one that we can take a lesson from when it comes to difficulties and hardship? It's Sayyidah Zainab alayhi salam. Because if we look at the life of Sayyidah Zainab alayhi salam, if we really internalize what she faced and what happened to her, it's unbelievable who she is and what she said and what she does. Because after she was born, a few years later, her grandfather Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi left this world. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. A few months after, her mother Fatima alayha afdal salat was salam, she left this world. A few years after, she loses her father Ali alayhi salam. And then he gets insulted on the pulpits by the Umayyads. That hurt Zainab alayhi salam. And this is what she pointed out at some point during her life. But who's the Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi? Who's Fatima? Who's Ali? After a while, she loses her brother Imam Al-Hasan al-Mushtaba, killed by his own wife. 10 years after, she goes to Karbala to see Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam get killed in front of her. Her sons, her siblings, her protectors, they all get killed in front of her. If you look at the life of Zainab alayhi salam, from the beginning, difficulties and hardships, one worse than the other, from the very beginning, until Karbala. And after everything she had experienced at the age of 55, she still was responsible and she knew what to do and how to act and how to react in certain situations. She was responsible. This is why Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam raised her. She was strong, and we want strong women in these situations. This is where you need to be strong. She was responsible. She knew what to do and how to act. She protected the Imam of her time. Even though she faced all that she faced, the long journey, the heat of the desert, correct? She was still responsible. Difficulties, hardships. Hala ba'd shway, we're going to get to the greatness of Sayyidah Zainab. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. So, after the tragedy of Ashura, after the 10th of Muharram, she took care of the kids, of the orphans. She gave them comfort. She protected the Imam of her time. And then she prayed Salatul Layl, how our scholars mention. After the tragedy of Ashura, she prayed Salatul Layl. It's true, she prayed it sitting down. She didn't stand up to pray it. But she prayed Salatul Layl. What does that mean? What does that indicate? If we want to look at Karbala, we have 3 important prayers in Karbala. 3. The first one is one that I already mentioned. It's the prayer of Al-Hur bin Yazid al-Riyahi when he prayed Jama'ah with Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam. One of our scholars mentions that maybe this prayer was one of the main reasons for his tawfiq to change the sides in the last moment. The lesson: one prayer could change your life. One sincere prayer could change your life. The second prayer was the prayer of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam on the 10th of Muharram, when he stopped the battle even though it was raining arrows on Imam al-Hussein and his men. He still wanted to pray, and he prayed in the middle of the battlefield. We take that for granted, and no, yeah, it's okay, the Imam, he just stood and prayed. But it's not. He prayed. What does that mean? Prayer has utmost priority and importance. And then we have the prayer of Sayyidah Zainab alayhi salam after everything that she faced and went through. And what is she praying? Salatul Layl, a recommended prayer. It's not even a wajib prayer. She prayed it. Halla, some of us, when they're too busy at work, when they're a bit tired, they miss their wajib prayer. Wallah, Shaykhna, I was busy. I didn't have time. Tab, Sayyidah Zainab prays a mustahab prayer after everything that she faced. How come we can miss a wajib prayer? If we want to be students of the school of Karbala and Ashura, we need to take this lesson. Also, we need to take the lesson that Sayyidah Zainab, she's praying Salatul Layl, which means it's not only a physical act. She's doing it, khalas, 2 rak'at, just for the sake of it being recommended to get the thawab, To her, she was exhausted. She wanted to pray 2 units to connect with Allah Azza wa Jal. It's a relief. This is how we need to perceive and see prayer. During that night, she prayed. If we were in her position, maybe we wouldn't have prayed anything. Like, it's enough, Ya Allah. All these trials and tragedies, Allah, I need to pray, I need to take care of the orphans to protect the Imam of my time. She still is praying Salat al-Layl. And the tents were on fire. And she's praying Salat al-Layl. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. طيب. After that, like I mentioned already, she took care of the orphans and they took her to Ash-Sham. But if we look at the words of Ahlul Bayt alayhum salam when they speak about the greatest hardship, the greatest strategy of Ashura, they mention one thing. To them, to the Imams after Imam al-Hussein, when they look back at Ashura, the greatest strategy is for Zainab to be taken as a captive. Al-Asr, As-Sabi is the greatest strategy. When Abu Hamza al-Thumali saw Imam Zain al-Abidin still crying and mourning after years, he asked him, أَمَا آنَ لِحُزْنِكَ أَنْ يَنْقَضِي? Is it not enough that you weep and cry? Look what the narration says. One day, Abu Hamza al-Thumali came to Imam al-Sajjad and found him sad and gloomy. So he said to him, O son of the Messenger of God, is it not time for your sadness to end and for your crying to lessen? Because it is said that Imam al-Sajjad, he used to cry even 35 years after the tragedy of Ashura. He was one of the Bakka'in, the 5 weepers that we have. So he asked him, is it not time for that to end or to lessen? And then he elaborated. He told him, my master, being slain has become a habit of yours, and martyrdom is but Allah's honor bestowed upon you. Al-qatlu lakum aada wa karamatukum min Allahi shahada. So, then he says, wasn't your grandfather Ali ibn Abi Talib killed by the sword of Ibn Muljam? Wasn't your uncle Hassan killed? So why are you still crying? What is it? What's different? Imam Ali alayhi salam is Amir al-Mu'mineen. So what's different? He tells him. Then Imam Sajjad alayhi salam turned to him and said, Shakarallahu sa'yaka ya Aba Hamza. May Allah Azza wa Jalla reward you reward your efforts with the best rewards, O Aba Hamza. Then he tells him, did your eyes see or your ears hear that Alawiyya was taken captive before the day of Ashura? Killing our men has become normal, yes. But is having our women taken as captives normal? Do our tents usually get set on fire? By Allah, O Aba Hamza, I do not look at my aunts and sisters without remembering how they fled on the day of Ashura from tent to tent. And the enemies were calling out, burn down the tents of the oppressors, while the women sought refuge with one another. And they were calling out, wa Jaddah wa Muhammada. This is why I'm still weeping. This is why I'm still crying. It's not normal to us for our women to be taken captive. And then Sayyidah Zainab, after that, she entered the palace of Yazid. And this is very important. When we look at Zainab alayha salam and how she was treated during the time of Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam, no one used to see her shadow. And now she's in the palace of Yazid and his men. And I spoke about Yazid and who Yazid is and who he was. For Zainab alayhi salam to stand there after all that she had passed through, it would have been hard enough to sit there silent and quiet. But she stood up and she spoke. She held a speech, and they said it was a speech like the speeches of Ali alayhi salam. It's hard for a lady like Zainab alayhi salam to do this in the majlis of Yazid after everything that happened. If we go on a walk for 2 hours, we're tired. How about a walk for months? What a walk it was. And then, when he asked her, كيف رأيت صنع الله بأخيك الحسين? What did she say? ما رأيت إلا جميلة. هلا I'm going to speak about ما رأيت إلا جميلة. I just want to make a comparison between Sayyidah Zainab alayhi salam and Sayyidah Asya alayhi salam. Because Sayyidah Asya alayhi salam, when she faced her difficulties and her trials, what did she say? She couldn't take it anymore, so what did she say? What did she pray? The Quran tells us, وَضَرَبَ اللَّهُ مَثَلًا لِلَّذِينَ آمَنُوا امرأة فرعون إذ قالت رب ابن لي عندك بيتا في الجنة ونجني من فرعون وعمله. And save me from Pharaoh and his doings. What does save me mean? Save me means خلص. I've had enough. Take me from this world. Take me to you. She's longing for death. She's wishing for death. And she was facing somebody like Fir'aun. How about Sayyidah Zainab and everything that she went through that I mentioned? And now she's facing Yazid. When he asked her, كيف رأيت صنع الله بأخيك الحسين? She said, ما رأيت إلا جميلة. I saw nothing but beauty. She also said on the 10th of Muharram, ربنا تقبل منا هذا القربان. Accept the sacrifice from us. Accept it. Even though her hardship was worse, was harder, was stronger. But when Sayyidah Zainab alayhi salam says, ما رأيت إلا جميلة, many think it's just a line, a beautiful line that she said because she wants to show that she's strong. She wants to tell Yazid, what you did, like it doesn't affect us. It doesn't affect them. But Sayyidah Zainab wasn't saying poetry when she said, ما رأيت إلا جميلة. Sayyidah Zainab, al-alima. She has knowledge, alim, ma'rifah. When she says, ما رأيت إلا جميلة, she's speaking about a worldview. She's telling him, I did not see anything but beauty. She saw beauty in Karbala because she's looking from the perspective of Allah Azza wa Jal. She's seeing the end result and what's going to happen. So she's looking with the eye of Allah Azza wa Jal and she's saying, ما رأيت إلا جميلة. If you want to take it further, you say, Allah Azza wa Jal, huwa al-jamil. Huwa al-jamil. So she saw Allah Azza wa Jal in Karbala. So she's telling him, I saw nothing but beauty. After everything that she faced, هلا نحن, if we go through a difficulty, okay, if I want to get married and I don't get married, دغري I doubt Allah's love for me. Do you love me? If I have a need and Allah doesn't fulfill my need, right away I ask Allah, do you even care for me? Do you even look after me? I've been praying for 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. You're not responding to me. Does Allah even exist? Look what Sayyidah Zainab faced. She lost her grandfather, her father, her siblings. They were all killed in front of her. She was taken as a captive. When she was asked by Yazid, she said, ما رأيت إلا جميلة. نحن, somebody fails in an exam, he doubts Allah's existence. Why did I fail in the exam? I studied so hard. Somebody might lose his son in a car accident. He goes back, Ya Allah, why did you do this? Why did Allah take my son? Why did this happen to me? Why did this not work out? Right away we attack Allah Azza wa Jal. But Sayyidah Zainab, after everything that she faced, after everything that she went through, she says, ما رأيت إلا جميلة. It's a deep sentence. We need to reflect upon that sentence. Do we really understand what it means when Zainab alayhi salam says, ما رأيت إلا جميلة? Because it's not a nice quote. She didn't say it for it to be put just on a bio. She said it because she meant it. She said it in that state because she really meant it. ما رأيت إلا جميلة. صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. So this is Zainab alayhi salam. And this is the lesson that we need to take from Zainab alayhi salam. Because we might not face the same difficulties and hardships and challenges that those who were before us faced. But we're going to have our own challenges. We are going to face our own hardships. They might be different now because each time, each stage, each era has different appearances, correct? So when it comes to our challenges, our difficulties, we need to be aware and we need to be strong and we need to trust Allah Azza wa Jal. Because if somebody asks us after anything had befallen us, how do you explain that? What do you see? We should tell them, and I'm advising myself here first before I advise you guys, I should tell them, مَا رَأَيْتُ إِلَّا جَمِيلًا. If I face any difficulty, any hardship, because this is how life is, I have to stand firm as much as possible and say, مَا رَأَيْتُ إِلَّا جَمِيلًا. But when we speak about our time and our challenges and our difficulties, we can take a lesson from Luqman al-Hakim. Luqman, when he was advising his son, he told him in regards of shirk, وَإِذْ قَالَ لُقْمَانُ لِابْنِهِ وَهُوَ يَعِظُهُ يَا بُنَيَّ لَا تُشْرِكْ بِاللَّهِ إِنَّ الشِّرْكَ بِاللَّهِ لَظُلْمٌ عَظِيمٌ. He told him, behold, Luqman said to his son by way of instruction, O my son, join not in worship others with Allah, for false worship is indeed the highest wrongdoing. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Halla, shirk in the past was worshipping idols. They used to create idols, statues, and worship them. I think now, in our time and age, I don't have to convince anyone that this is clearly wrong. Correct? Handmade statue, you don't worship that. You don't ask that statue. You don't worship it, you don't ask it, you don't do anything. However, just on the side, yani, back in the days, they were mushrikeen. What is a mushrik? A mushrik is somebody who believes in Allah Azza wa Jal, but he also believes that somebody else separately has a separate impact on anything in this world without Allah Azza wa Jal. So they used to believe in Allah Azza wa Jal, but also worship idols and statues because they believed they have a separate impact. This is shirk. So the Quran, when he speaks about mushrikeen, he speaks a lot about them. But the concept of being an atheist, a mulhid, not believing in Allah Azza wa Jal, this is new to that extent. To have so many atheists now, I think this is very recent, a few hundred years old. Because back in the days, they were all mushrikeen. Because you cannot deny the fact of the existence of Allah Azza wa Jal. The Quran says, أَفِي اللَّهِ شَكٌّ. It's clear, it's obvious. Like, أَفِي اللَّهِ شَكٌّ. Ma'uli, you doubt the existence of Allah Azza wa Jal? Throughout history, they all used to believe in the Creator. But now, a few hundred years ago, it has become a trend, a thing, and we're atheists. We don't believe in the Creator. So when the Quran, when he's telling him not to commit shirk, he's telling him not to commit shirk, not in the obedience of Allah Azza wa Jal. Sorry, not in the belief of Allah Azza wa Jal, because we have two types of shirk. We have a shirk fil i'tiqad and we have a shirk fil ta'ah. We have two different types. The first one is the shirk in the belief, where you say, okay, I believe that there is a creator, but I believe that somebody else has a separate impact on anything in this world. This is shirk in the belief. That type of shirk gets you out of Islam, removes the status of you being a Muslim. We're not speaking about this type of shirk. There's another type of shirk, a shirk fi ta'ah, shirk in obedience, where you listen to somebody else except Allah Azza wa Jal and you obey something else other than Allah Azza wa Jal. Luqman, we could say that in this verse he's telling him to not commit any type of this shirk. Because now we don't worship idols, but we could worship other idols. We could commit shirk in a different way, in a new way, in a modern way, where we get influenced by sources, by people that should not influence us, to the extent that we might worship somebody else than Allah Azza wa Jal. Worship somebody else other than Allah Azza wa Jal, not in the belief, but in our actions, in our lifestyle, in our day-to-day life. It's not enough for you to say, I am a Muslim, I believe in Allah Azza wa Jal, if you do not act accordingly. Yani when we say, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu, the Quran, when the Quran says, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu Aminu, the Mufassirin say the first one is saying, O you who believe, believe. The Mufassirin say the first one is Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu in the existence of Allah Azza wa Jal. O you who believe in the existence of Allah Azza wa Jal, believe in obeying Allah Azza wa Jal. Yani aminu nadhariyan and aminu amaliyan. So you who claim to be believers, be believers in your actions and in your deeds. This is what the Quran is telling us when he says, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu aminu. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Ahsant. طيب. Because like I mentioned, shirk has different types, different appearances. Now, we can be committing that type of shirk, the smaller type of shirk, without knowing it, without recognizing it. Because what I said about this type of shirk is that you listen to somebody other than Allah Azza wa Jal and you obey somebody else other than Allah Azza wa Jal, without you knowing it. Okay? فَلُقْمَانَ is telling his son to not commit any of these types of shirk. Neither shirk in the belief, nor shirk in your actions and in your deeds. You have to be the master of your own self. You have to control yourself when it comes to anything in life. Don't let anyone influence you. No family, no friends, no personalities, no fake scholars, not social media. Because when it comes to social media, which has a big influence now in our day-to-day life, many of us think social media is free. Hala, it's true. You could use every application on social media without paying a single dollar. But you're giving something else in return. You're not giving money in return, but you're giving your attention. You're giving yourself to these apps, to these platforms, to these influencers on social media. You're not paying money, so you're paying your attention. When you're paying your attention, you might buy their products. And this is easy. But you might buy their worldview, their philosophy, their beliefs, which is way more dangerous. Because once they get your heart and your mind, once they can occupy that, you are willing to give them everything. Why do you think they changed the types of war? Back in the days, they used to have physical wars, just go and fight and kill other people. But they recognized that this type of war is not going to be fruitful over time. Because if you go invade a country and kill its people, those people who were killed, they are martyrs, shuhada. They have kids, they have family, they have people like-minded, right? They will always be a resistance. There will always be a resistance, and they will try to kick those invaders out of the country. So you can occupy land, but it's not going to last if you do not occupy the minds and the hearts. So instead of going and paying money and invading countries and, they said, let us just change the tactic. Let us invade and occupy their hearts and their minds. Once we do that, they are going to come and give us everything. Their land, their money, their people, without having to fire a single bullet. خلص. Once we have them, once they trust us, once they believe us, they will give us everything. So let's do this instead. Because this is fruitful over time. Once we have them, we will have the next generation and the next generation, and khalas. We will have this group of people on our side. It's much cheaper, it's easier, no risk, correct? And let it take 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. What's the problem? Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. That's why when we are on social media, we need to be careful who we listen to. When we attend any gathering, we need to be careful who we listen to. Because look what Imam al-Baqir alayhi salam says when it comes to listening to somebody, anybody. The narration says from Imam al-Baqir alayhi salam, من أصغى إلى ناطق فقد عبده فإن كان الناطق يؤدي عن الله عز وجل فقد عبد الله وإن كان الناطق يؤدي عن الشيطان فقد عبد الشيطان. The Imam is saying من أصغى. Al-Isgha in the Arabic language doesn't only mean to hear and listen. It means to listen and to hear carefully. If you're sitting and listening to any speaker carefully, if you're paying attention, you are worshipping him. So if he is delivering on behalf of Allah Azza wa Jal, this is the translation of the narration, then you are worshipping Allah Azza wa Jal. And if he is delivering on behalf of the shaitan, then you are worshipping the shaitan. Because your thoughts become your destiny. I don't know if you know this quote. During my time, it was a famous quote. Maybe I'm outdated, I don't know. But the quote says, watch your thoughts. They will become your words. Watch your words. They will become your actions. Watch your actions. They will become your habits. Watch your habits. They will become your character. Watch your character. It will become your destiny. How does it start? Watch your thoughts. Who are you listening to? Who's impacting you? Who's giving you a worldview? Who's giving you ideas? Who's giving you thoughts, a philosophy, whatever it is? Who? It will become your destiny. Don't underestimate it. طبعا, I just used this quote to strengthen the point. Well, I don't need it. What the Imam said already is enough, is fine. Just to make it more clear and to aid it. Your thoughts will become your destiny. So you need to be careful who you listen to, who you take your knowledge from. When it comes to the verse in the Quran, فَلْيَنظُرِ الْإِنسَانُ إِلَىٰ طَعَامِهِ, the Imam explains it and says, إِلَىٰ عِلْمِهِ مِنْ أَيْنَ يَأْخُذُهُ. He says, watch who you take your knowledge from. Watch who you listen to on social media. Watch who's speaking to you, what book you're reading. Me personally, when I want to read any book, I look at the author first. Is it a trustworthy one? I read that book. If it's not, I don't open that book. Because I'm not willing to give my mind and my worldview to anyone that I don't trust and that I don't know. So this is my advice to you. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Because once we let somebody influence us and affect us, we start seeing things differently. We start developing a different understanding, which could be dangerous and lead us to points where we don't want to go to. And especially the youth get affected by that easily and quickly. The youth, they get deceived by names, by persons, by titles, by ranks, by positions, by the numbers of followers. If he has 500k followers, akid what he says should be reasonable. Ma'ul, is it possible that 500,000 people follow him and he's not speaking any truth? A big number of followers, yes. We follow him. Let's follow this account, right? This is a method used in some shows, in some sitcoms. They made a study that sitcoms who have pre-recorded laughter in them, yani. Because they do that to give you a signal that you should laugh here. So when you're watching a sitcom and a funny scene comes up, you will hear that pre-recorded laughter, which signals you, yalla, laugh here. This is a funny part. And then you laugh. They made studies, and it showed that sitcoms with pre-recorded laughter were rated funnier than ones without. Because in your subconsciousness, it affects you. And yeah, this is funny. If you listen to somebody who has a big number of following, who has a certain title, who has a certain whatever it is, you're more likely to accept what they say. مع إنه it might not mean anything. It could be manipulative. And oh wow, this name, this title, this rank, this number of following, a pre-recorded laughter could affect you and affect your opinion. So the youth need to be careful who they listen to. طيب. Because like I mentioned, if they are delivering on behalf of other than Allah Azza wa Jal, you could be worshipping the shaitan because of them and through them. So it's very dangerous. صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. وين الأحسنت؟ صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. Because it's not easy to recognize this type of shirk. It's not easy. The smaller shirk, the shirk in obedience that I was speaking about. There's a narration from Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salam where he tries to give us an analogy to tell us how covered and how hidden this type of shirk could be. I'm going to finish off with this narration and then just have some words on the 10th of Muharram. Inshallah, I will finish. So give me your attention for another 5 minutes and we'll be good, inshallah. The Imam in the narration, he says, Al-Ishraku fi nas. This type of shirk, the small type of shirk. Al-Ishraku fi nas akhfa min dabib al-naml على المسح الأسود في الليلة المظلمة. I know no one understood anything. I'm just going to translate it. Inshallah, you will get it. He's saying, Al-Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salam, committing shirk among people is more hidden than a black ant on a black stone and the dark night. You might not recognize it. So what do? You do your ihtiyat, precaution, and you only go to the safe side. Because if you don't go to the safe side, you might not see the black ant on the black stone and the dark night. So make sure you go to the places that have light, the nur of knowledge and wisdom that was given to us by Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad. أفلح من أعاد الصلاة على محمد وآل محمد. Because the salat for Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad is not for me. It's for Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad. طيب, I finished with the main topic. I just want to say a few things in regards of the 10th of Muharram. And I will ask for your prayers, inshallah. When it comes to the 10th of Muharram, just a few ahkam related to that and what's recommended and what you could do, because tomorrow, inshallah, is the 10th of Muharram, according to some scholars. However, if your scholar is saying that Muharram, the 10th of Muharram is on Saturday, then take those for Saturday. It's recommended to say 1,000 times, Allahumma al'an qatalat al-Husayn. Oh Allah, curse the killers of Imam al-Husayn. If you can, do it 1,000 times. If you can't, do it as much as you can. Inshallah, Allah will accept it. It's recommended to recite Ziyarat Ashura. And it's recommended to not seek any worldly benefit. Any maslaha dunyawiyya, it's recommended to not seek it on the 10th of Muharram. Yani, if you can take off work, take off work. If you can't, it's okay. It's not haram. If you have to go to work, it's not haram. If there's something that you need to do because you have an appointment, whatever it is, it's not haram. It's just better to postpone everything and delay everything if you can do that. طيب. When it comes to fasting, it's makruh, it's disliked. However, it's good to not eat and drink until the afternoon. And the last one more thing, Ashura doesn't end on the 10th of Muharram, because I know a lot of you have sincere love for Imam al-Husayn. During the 10 nights, usually you wear a hijab, you stop listening to music, you don't commit any sin because you have love for Imam al-Husayn and you respect these 10 days. But the tragedy in reality, it starts after the 10th of Muharram. So if you could commit to what you're already doing and leave aside these sins that you already left aside during these 10 days, keep doing that, inshallah. Take the intention to do that forever. Yani. I don't want to give a time span. And don't sin until Muharram is over. No, don't sin at all. Yani, as much as you can. I want to finish off with us greeting Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam together. I ask you, inshallah, to participate. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله وعلى الأرواح التي حلت بفنائك. عليك مني سلام الله أبدا ما بقيت وبقي الليل والنهار، ولا جعله الله آخر العهد مني لزيارتكم. السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. صلى الله عليك يا سيدي ويا مولاي يا رسول الله. صلى الله عليك وعلى آل بيتك المظلومين. صلى الله عليك يا أبا عبد الله. صلى الله عليك يا غريب كربلاء. يا مظلوم، يا مسلوب العمامة والردى. فهويت إلى الأرض جريحا، تطأك الخيول بحوافرها، وتعلوك الطغاة بمواترها. قد رشح للموت جبينك، واختلفت بالانقباض والانبساط شمالك ويمينك. تدير طرفا خفيا إلى أهلك ورحلك. فلما رأت النساء جوادك مخزيا، ونظرنا سرجك عليه ملويا، برزنا من الخدور للشور ناشرات، وبالعويل داعيات، وبعد العز مدللات، وإلى مصرعك مبادرات، والشمر جالس على صدرك. You fell to the ground. Horses trampled your body. Tyrants raised their swords against you, and when the women saw your horse, they came rushing from the tents, and they went to where you lay wounded, and saw Shimir sitting on your chest. As-salamu ala al-Husayn. وعلى أولاد هذا الليل قد غاشي الخيام وهناك زينب وحدها وسط الظلام. Tonight there's a sadness in the camps of Imam al-Hussein, and there's Zainab alone in the darkness. The night of the 10th, she didn't get any sleep or rest. Ya Sahib al-Amr, Aqila cried tonight, heartbroken of what was to come to her Imam. So give her some comfort, Mawlaya ya Sahib al-Zaman, and peace to her heart. Zainab entered to where Hussein alayhi salam was. She hugged him, embraced him, and sighed sadly. O light of my eyes, Habibi ya Akhi, I wish instead of your chest the arrows would hit mine. I wish instead of death taking you, it would take me. I will see you laying in Karbala, and Shimir will be sitting on your chest. اليوم مات المصطفى والمرتضى. اليوم Fatima was surrounded by the enemies. Fatima الزهراء يا صاحب الزمان العجل سيدي. Tomorrow they will take Aqila to Sham. Tonight is the night of the 10th of Muharram. It is also Laylatul Jum'ah, the night of Imam al-Mahdi. So we say, أين استقرت بك النوى بالشام لو في نينوى يمتى يا مهدينا سوى نبكي على مقطوع النحار. مولاي مهدي, where are you tonight? In Sham or Karbala? It is the night of Ashura. Are you in Karbala doing azab for your grandfather Hussein? Or are you in Sham waiting for your Aunt Zainab? هل من جزو بها الزمان يسمع لآهات ومحان مشتاق لك يا ابن الحسن يما تريد منها السفر. When will we be mourning with you over your grandfather Abu Abdullah, O son of the 11 moons? Your mother Fatima was gone too soon, but she was there in Karbala crying, my son, what did they do to you? Or are you with Abbas and Furat? He has no hands, they cut them off. Or are you with Qasim and Ali, weeping with Hussein as he grieves? Or are you with your grandmother Az-Zahra, crying over her son and her daughter Hawra? O Mahdi, tell us where you are. We want to cry, O Master, with you. When will you return, Ya Mahdi? When will we cry with you over your tragedy? With you and your mother we cry sadly, and Zainab, you cry blood for your brother. Your auntie Ya Mahdi was taken to Sham. They killed Hussein and left her alone, paraded her like she was unknown, forgetting her father was Ali. مولاي يا صاحب الزمان, which day is the day like the day of Ashura, when Imam al-Hussein stood around looking at all the martyrs, Akbar, Qasim, Abbas, even the little children that were killed. When Imam Hussein alayhi salam was now alone, he called out, who will help us? Zainab alayhi salam came over with the baby Radi. Hussein, his mother is unable to feed him from her thirst. Brother Abu Abdullah, take him to the enemy and get him some water. Hussein went to the enemy. This is my baby, he is thirsty. Take him and give him water and return him to me. Some of the enemies agreed, but some didn't, and they said, don't give any water to this family. Umar bin Sa'ad says, Ya Harmala, اقطع نزاع القوم. He says, "Oh Harmala, stop this argument." So Harmala prepared an arrow, and when there was a breeze of wind, it uncovered the neck of Radi'. He shot the arrow and hit Radi' in his neck. They say when Radi' felt the arrow, he fluttered like an injured bird. He hugged the neck of Imam Al-Hussein. They say no blood reached the sand as Imam Hussein threw it to the sky. Allahumma taqabbal minna هذا القربان. Imam Hussein took him back to the tent. Some say that Sakina came and said, "My father, Radi' is no longer crying. Did you give him water, but not me?" He said, "Sakina, this is your brother. He has been killed." Rabab came out and she said, "Sayyidi, has anything happened to my child?" Imam Hussein says, "This is your child, madbuhan min al-warid ila al-warid." Later that night, Imam Hussein, the night of Ashura, Imam Zain al-Abidin says, "I was sitting with my Aunt Zainab confronting me when my father started to recite, يا دهر أف لك من خليلي كم لك بالإشراك والأصيل من صاحب وطالب قتيل. O time, what a cruel friend you are. How many a companion and seeker will you slay at dawn?" Imam alayhi salam says, my father repeated these words 2 or 3 times, and then I understood them and knew what he meant. Overcome by emotions, I held back my tears and fell silent, realizing that tomorrow would be our final farewell. As for my Aunt Zainab, when she heard what I heard, she could not control herself. She rushed towards my father. She says to Imam Al-Hussein, I wish death had deprived me of life. Today my mother Fatima has died. Today my father Ali has died. Today my brother Hassan has died. ثقلا ليت الموت عدمن الحياة. اليوم ماتت أمي فاطمة وأبي علي وأخي الحسن. Hussein looked over at her with compassion. His heart was breaking for her. He tried to console her. He said, Zainab, inna jaddi khayrun minni. أبي خير مني إن أمي خير مني. My father, my grandfather has passed and he was better than me. My father passed and he was better than me. Zainab cried and said, are you determined to get yourself killed? Hussein alayhi salam's eyes welled up with tears. He said, Ya Zainab, and how can I not get killed with a lack of supporters and an overabundance of enemies? Zainab alayhi salam cried. Imam al-Hussein said, Ya Allah, tie the knot of patience on her heart. And then he said, Ya Zainab, this is the final night. Tonight you have me and Abbas, but tomorrow you only have the children and the women. Zainab, I need you by my side. When my Ali al-Akbar falls and dies, I won't be able to handle it alone. Be patient when Abbas is on the riverbed and his hands are cut off. And then a three-headed arrow will go in my heart. And then my ribs, like those of my mother, will be broken. Zainab, Zainab, be patient even more when you see Shimir sitting on my chest. He pulls my beard and severs my head. Zainab, be patient for more Musab. I will be in the sand for 3 days, unburied, all alone. Wa Husaynan, wa ghariban, wa everyone. It's as if Sayyidah Zainab looks to the sky, the night sky of Karbala, and she says, it's a famous poem. Ya Lal Tawil Saatak, Ya Lal Ihmil Ahatak, Ya Lal Tawil, everyone, Saatak, Ya Lal لو ودعت الوليان تتولى عن العدوان. Continue. Oh night, prolong your hours. Oh night, don't bring tomorrow. Oh night, prolong your hours. Oh night, don't bring tomorrow. Bid farewell to Hussein. Start my journey of pain. Bid farewell to Hussein. Start my journey night, prolong your hours. I'm Zainab, no one knows my shadow. Tomorrow they will kill Hussein. In Karbala his body slain. They will all laugh and cheer while the world cries blood and tears. This enemy they do not fear. The day of judgment when it comes. Ya Lal irham dalali, Ya Lal da'at amali. Everyone let them. Ya Lal irham dalali, Ya Lal da'at amali. يا دهر الخوان تتولى عن يا ليل طول يا ليل طول ساعتك يا ليل احمل آهاتك لو ودعت الوليان تتولى عن العدوان again لو تتولى عن العدوان. Oh night, don't bring me more sorrow. Abbas is gone tomorrow. Hussein and Karbala slain. Oh night, you bring this pain. Abbas was my dear kafir. With him around I had no fear. And now he lays beside the Euphrates. يا ليل طول ساعاتك يا ليل احمل آهاتك يا ليل طول ساعاتك. دات الوليان تتولى عن العدوان. يا شيعة يا مهدي, I have a story to tell. They killed Hussein, they killed Abbas, they killed Hussein, they killed Abbas. They took Zainab a prisoner. Shamir killed grandfather Hussein, and on his chest he sat no shame. And on the plains of Karbala there lay his body slain. there lay his body slain. Last maqta. Zainab woke and cried in tears. Zainab woke and cried in tears. Hussein's head was on the spear. Abi Hussein's head was on. Mother Zahra, Father Ali, come take me away from here. Come take me. وحسينا وغريبا